Hey YouTubers again. So what you're going to see changing just a little bit in the background are these wall arts, like graffiti you could say, but high quality mural type art from near Patan, near Kathmandu. And 2 or 3 videos back, we were out at PDX saying goodbye to Leela Wah on her way through security, missed her connection, well, didn't miss her connection, missed her first flight to San Francisco owing to a gate mix-up and being groggy, but got there in time to catch the plane to China, north of Hong Kong, and switch over to another flight to Kathmandu. And I'll probably jump to some other things, but what I want to talk about, a few things. First of all, here's an Amnesty International picture, and I don't know anything about this case. It's just the kind of thing we have in Portland all the time. Um, Literature of that nature about political prisoners around the world. And I think a sign that civilization is catching on and that we're in a positive direction is when we do more prisoner exchanges, or just say, like, send us the people you can't deal with, and we'll create a YouTube channel and have these people talk on YouTube and kind of be citizen diplomats. It's like Leonard Peltier could go to Russia, join with Snowden there or something like that, and show up on YouTube and tell us a story. Like, they don't have to be in the country making trouble. Send Assange somewhere. I'm not saying to a prison. I would say to a safe place where they can talk to the world. Let them be heard, right? Because the main point of imprisonment is to keep these people muzzled and not talking and not sharing their stories. And I want us to figure a way to increase rather than decrease the conversation. And one way to do that is to let people out of jail, right? In one way or another. And so a first asylum city would be an Amnesty International project, or UN Amnesty International. Get some good sponsors, and let's create a place where people can get out of a political prisoner situation and go to this asylum city, and talk to the world from there, right? We're going to have podcasts, YouTubes, SoundCloud, everything's going to be there. We're going to have internet like crazy, and journalists can come there too and do interviews and stuff. And there'll be gradual reacclimation, repatriation. We'll see how it goes with the, I think initially just having a voice restored is goal number one. So that's a true asylum city. That's like not my sort of run-of-the-mill university campus open to experimentation. This is a true sanctuary for political prisoners from around the world. And it's a fantasy. It's science fiction. We would have to have real screenwriting to make it real. And I always clamor for help on this because I'm not Walt Disney or any of these other. I'm not a movie director yet. I think like one. I do storyboards all the time. And I link it up with general systems theory at my website. And I've got a whole curriculum, you could say, that's geared towards doing these projects. Now, one other topic I want to bring up here, and that's in my most recent video in the captions, I talk about how open source was a part of the design science revolution. What does that even mean? You can actually look it up in Wikipedia. It was Fuller's way out. It was how he thought we needed to go. A bloodless, non-violent revolution of engineering, to use engineering to serve ourselves and not to get into counterproductive, destructive behavior, which is always seemed to be good at a lot of the time. And it's wearying on all of us to see this waste, right? I'm not saying I'm some martyr to the cause. It's like we all suffer lower living standards because of our reflex conditioning, our inability to take advantage of our own technology to save our own skins, Instead, we persist day after day in counterproductive behaviors. And I'm saying there's deep psychology involved here, and I don't want to be the televangelist who tells you all how to deal with it. I think the literature and the trainings are out there. The work is clear, and so what did design science benefit from open source? See, I say the ongoing design science revolution, free open source is part of it, requires cool-headed analysis of the recent past in light of some more positive futurism. So I think in proportion to we can give ourselves a vision of a positive future, in proportion to that, we'll be able to look in a cool-headed manner at our past and really learn from it, really gain some lessons and insights. But we have to do it without just becoming shouting, make it a shouting match, and everybody's looking for who to blame, right? That's what we got to avoid. Now, open source, I think, has partly why we're still here, really, and are still sort of working on getting out of a sinkhole, is we did agree on a massive scale to share tools. The free and open source movement, which mixed in with the makerspace movement. Like when I worked at O'Reilly, it was when Maker magazine still had its headquarters right there in Sebastopol. Same building, same company for a while. Makes a lot of sense because the engineering world wants to go back to the land and do small organic farms with open source everything, tractor designs, all the equipment you need. Somehow it's a very DIY experience. And I think we're ready for this as kind of a reality check. People just need that back to the land skill set where they feel like, okay, I understand how this works from the ground up, literally. You're not committing the rest of your life to this lifestyle, but you know there's these sort of converted ranches in Oregon where I, as someone from China or from Oregon or from somewhere in the world, can join this campus out in the remote rural Oregon that has some horses and so on, and I'll be living in some weird metallic Dymaxion yurt-like thing. There'll be a cafeteria, and there will be physical labor as well as mental labor. I will have a private workspace. I will be able to study things, but I also go out gardening and riding electric ATV somewhere. There's going to be classes in cleanup in some cases. We're going to set up these communities in places where it's time to get a handle on the environment again. People want to do this. Is this national service? Is this free college? Clearly, I don't have all the answers. We just need an imagination to start with. We need to ask the right questions. So how is it that we got outdoors in large numbers and started cleaning up the environment? How did that happen, looking back? What was the science fiction? And this is not just an idle question. This is more life or death than that, I think. Because we really do need to find a way forward where we're not just waiting for some political solution where someone's going to, quote, win the argument. You know, which shouting head is going to finally trounce the other, and then what? Okay? Is Baltimore any better at the end of the day? We've just wasted another 6 years on screaming matches, right? So the political process doesn't get much traction. But if you use invention, engineering, if you work on open source design, not just for software, but for hardware, for living machines, for whole lifestyles, we freely share skills, we educate one another, and we create communities around essential tasks, which could be anything from making wine and beer and chocolate like the old religious orders have always done, copy those, continue those, but then also cleanup of radiotoxins, which may just mean getting them down underground because there's no way to defuse these things. They're going to be like long half-lives involved and special skills to get them in a safer place. Now, this may not be what our generation is remembered for. We didn't get it together enough to really do that work, but we did create a foundation, At least we didn't set off more of those things. That would be a good legacy. If we're going to survive as a planet and a generation, we need to think about our legacy, right? Not just finger pointing, oh, the millennials, oh, the boomers, right? Intergenerational strife is just another thing about blaming, and you know that the premise of blaming is what? Failure. That's why we're blaming, because we goofed it up. We failed, and now we have to find a scapegoat. So what if we don't start from that? We start from we are succeeding, we're making a lot of progress. Let's acknowledge some of the people, like the open source pioneers. Let's talk about that whole history. Let's dump it out again, and not because it's a way to get rich quick, right? It wasn't that the first time, the .com thing. Let's talk about Richard Stallman. Let's talk about Linus Torvalds. I'm not saying barge into their personal lives. I'm just saying let's weave together the recent history of what's really been happening. We've got enough archival footage to do it. I don't think we need to pester people a whole lot more. I'm just saying let's tell our own history, and let's get the open source part of it in there. Don't leave it all up to OSCON, right? Don't leave it up to just one or two companies. Get in there and do the work. That's my attitude. All right, talk to you later.